Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about another topic kind of in line of our John Danaher video that we did a while ago. That seemed to be pretty popular, whether it was John Danaher or whether it's the content of the video and like what we learned. I thought I'd do another one and discuss another time that I traveled and trained with another legend of the sport, Mr. Eddie Bravo himself. I was really fortunate enough to go to LA in 2019 in January and spend about 10 days there traveling around Southern California, training and competing as well. Honorable mention is my friend Rafa Esparza, who helped me, a pretty hopeless brand new purple belt at the time, sign up for my first US competitions. Had no idea what I was doing. I messaged the man. He runs a channel called The Grappling Hour, so go and check that out when you get a second. And I messaged him. He could have easily just ignored me, but took the time to help connect me with a few competitions that were going on, and I managed to line up one for Saturday and the Sunday consecutively while I was there. In the week in the lead up, I was really fortunate to drop in at the downtown LA 10th Planet, so like their headquarters, and make it for an evening session there. So I thought today I'd talk about 3 lessons that I learned from my time there during my drop-in. Yes, one session is hardly enough to kind of base like my entire interpretation of a guy's jiu-jitsu career on. So I thought I'd just take it from my own kind of personal time there, what I experienced. So yeah, I thought I'd start with my first thing, which was understanding the language of 10th Planet. Now, for those of you who've been around the scene, you might know, and it's kind of like a running joke, that 10th Planet has its own kind of language or own nomenclature when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Whether it's moves like, you know, the zombie or crackhead control, or it's going to the vaporizer. All of these are techniques that you've probably seen before, whether they were innovated by Eddie or his students or other 10th Planet members. What I found very interesting is these aren't just random names for moves that he's kind of made out of midair, right? All of them have a connectivity to each other, and it's essentially part of the 10th Planet system that Eddie has created. Now, through his publications, through Mastering the System, which was one of the original kind of online platforms where we could go and engage with jiu-jitsu content, Eddie has created a very comprehensive system that people can use either in warm-ups or in series to learn a sequence of techniques. I don't want to blow up his spot too much. I mean, you know, it's not my system, and it's not my place to go into it in too much detail. But I found it, especially as a freshly fledged purple belt, to go into a gym where things are done very differently to what I'd seen up to that point. So we arrived. Well, it was just me. I arrived, paid for a drop-in, and then I did a couple of the classes in the hours leading up to the main evening class. It was really interesting to kind of see how Eddie had planned that out in these series and sequences of moves, which they call different series, like A through G through like different alphabetical letters, and they each have a different series. So that was my first time really seeing how differently structured a system or series could be. I think traditionally, jiu-jitsu has always been taught as this very like organic thing. You kind of came in, you kind of guessed at what your teacher or your coach was going to show that week, or even just that day. They maybe just guessed on the fly and showed you what they felt like, or something that they know as like their signature move, and then you went and drilled and did that. Eddie's system was very different. It was quite comprehensive, even though it was my first experience with the 10th Planet language. It was very easy to understand the sequence of moves that we were going to go through in that class, right? So he would break down part of the series, we'd look at that sequence, and then we'd either add to that or we'd look at the responses our training partner was giving us. I was partnered with a brown belt, a doctor from LA, and I looked at him when some of these terms were getting thrown out, and I was like, dude, what the fuck do some of these things mean? And he just looked at me and he goes, don't worry, bro, I don't know either. And we just kind of worked it out anyway. And, you know, you're able to decipher it. You know, whatever a move is called, it's still the same move. So you're not learning something completely different. Jiu-Jitsu is the same everywhere you go, regardless of whether I call a move a burger or a pizza. It's still the same technique. So, terrible analogy, I know, but that was the first of the interesting things that I noticed. So, the second thing that I noticed was this was actually the first time I was ever exposed to a position called butterfly half guard, right? Or half butterfly, or whatever you want to call it. In the class before Eddie's class, one of his purple belts was teaching this class. Up until this stage, I'd only ever really played a knee shield half guard variation, kind of like the Z-lock or just your basic half guard with a knee shield. As a purple belt, my game was still very rudimentary, and I was introduced by the person instructing this class on how to play a butterfly half. It was as simple as them saying, have you tried playing a half guard with your top leg as a hook rather than a knee shield? Seeing that for the first time was really influential to how I played a half guard and a guard game. And that has been something that I found hugely, hugely helpful in bringing back to my training, bringing back to my training partners, and essentially informing my better understanding of Jiu-Jitsu. So it's not like it was a new move even back in 2019. People have been playing butterfly half guard for years, but it was the first time I was exposed to it, and that was a really exciting revelation in my grappling. So, you know, it's always awesome to train overseas or when you travel, go and drop in at new places, and see that kind of different interpretation or the different look that our new training partners or the new instructor is going to give you. So, yeah, that was awesome, you know. I really feel for people that never visit another gym. You know, I'm a big proponent of cross-training. You know, I feel like that tribalism element of Jiu-Jitsu is something that's really starting to be something of yesteryear. Of course, there are small pockets of Jiu-Jitsu that will always remain in that culty little echo chamber. It's unfortunate, and I feel like it's only really the members who feel the detriment of that, you know. I feel like being able to cross-train, travel, and experience different looks from different people is one of the coolest part of the sports. So whether you fall into that camp, whether you agree with me or you've never seen cross-training or heard of that before, I encourage you to get out there, try and pursue different training partners, drop into different places, and you know, find out more about this awesome sport. So that was number 2 for me. Number 3 was going back to some of that methodology and informed instruction, right? As a new purple belt, I still wasn't really teaching. I'd had some experience running kids classes. I would occasionally cover for classes when nobody else could teach them. But seeing the way that Eddie and his students delivered technique and showed sequenced moves and sequenced the class in itself really helped inform the structure of my own teaching. As someone who had never really seen anything other than the do a move, drill, do a move, drill, do a move, drill, that was really influential for me coming back and going, hey, you're training in a sport where you're going to get resistance and different looks from a training partner. Why would you not incorporate those into your training? You cannot just drill a move in a vacuum. You cannot just drill a move and decide on its effectiveness against someone who's not giving you practical and informed looks. So I feel like when you're drilling or when you're training, it is crucial that the uke, the the other person involved is actually giving you intelligent looks as well. There's no point me just going and doing 100 arm bars, 100 triangles, and getting no resistance or no different looks from my training partner. One of the things that I really liked about the series approach and the way that a class and the system was structured was that it gave both people an opportunity to drill. I would do a move, you would show me the counter, or you would show me a response to that move, and then we would chain techniques off of that, you know, until eventually you had this whole sequence from start to submission that you could use as like a packaged unit. You know, whether you're competing or whether you just want to be a tough roller in the gym, that's up to you. But being able to go, hey, you know, I've seen this look before, and drill it in a scenario that isn't a live roll, you've now informed and built a far better understanding of that technique. I know it may seem like I'm preaching to the choir with these things, but you know, when we first start out in Jiu-Jitsu, you don't know these things, you know, and a lot of the time we operate from what we in philosophy call a curse of knowledge. This is a cognitive bias that we have, where once we know something, it's impossible for us to conceive again of what it was like to never know it. So with that in mind, I found it as someone seeing it for the first time and being exposed to it at quite a formative time in my jiu-jitsu, that really changed my perspective on how you could train, on how training could be structured, and the kinds of things that I wanted from good training partners. A good training partner isn't just someone who lays there and lets me do 100 leg drags. A good training partner is someone who goes, oh, he's done a leg drag, he can do that move proficiently. Now I'm going to give him a different answer or a different look that makes him go to a second layer, you know? If you're a beginner, understanding those layers and being able to build the conversation more than just single words or phrases and putting combinations of moves together is how you end up becoming a proficient and advanced grappler. So those were my main takeaways from training with Eddie. I was really, I was really excited for the opportunity to go and train over there. My first exposure to no-gi was actually through Eddie Bravo versus Royler Gracie's Meta Morris match back in the day. I was very fortunate when I first started Jiu-Jitsu to meet Royler Gracie back in 2012 when he was on an instructional or kind of coaching tour. He came down to Dunedin where I was a student at the time. I discovered Jiu-Jitsu for the first time at the boxing gym, Gracie Humaida in Dunedin, and I decided to chuck on a gi, which I hadn't seen since doing judo as a child. Royler Gracie came the very next week, and you know, from there, obviously, it sent me into that kind of rabbit hole of Googling who Royler Gracie was, finding out the history of the Gracie family, and discovering more and more about Jiu-Jitsu. Through that discovery, I learned about who Eddie Bravo was. So in 2019, almost a decade later, when I had the opportunity to travel and go and train there, I was super, super excited to be able to do it. And you know, being able to tick that off the bucket list and see how Eddie ran his class, and to see this gym, which I'd seen through mastering the system and all of their online content, was a real dream come true of mine. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you again to Eddie Bravo and the team for having me. And a big thank you to Ron Turner, who in the same trip hosted me very graciously at 10th Planet Orange. I suppose that's a video for another time as well. If you like this video, let us know in the comments if you'd like to see more about that. I had a phenomenal time training at 10th Planet Orange, 10th Planet Costa Mesa. in the week following my time at Eddie Bravo's at HQ. So I hope you found this video interesting. If that's something and these videos are kind of a theme that you enjoy watching, give it a like. You know, we get to see what you guys like in terms of content, and really keen to engage with that. So if there's specific things you want us to talk about and specific topics you'd like us to explore, I'm always more than happy to do that. Just let us know in the comment section below. Anyways, thanks very much for watching. Hope you liked this. Don't forget to subscribe as well, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.